Good evening, everyone. I want to welcome you to our first video podcast. If this works, if you all enjoy this, if this is a good way of communicating with you and sharing the things that are going on in the children, youth, and family ministries here at Faith Church. Well, not here. This is my living room. But within our ministry and within all the exciting programs and all the things that I believe God has in store for us together, if this is a good tool for communication and letting you know about just the different things going on and different opportunities for you and your family to get involved, then great. I want to pursue that. I want to communicate as clearly and easily with you as possible. And so, that being the case, let me jump right in. I wanted to start our newsletter this week with giving you a little recap of the youth retreat that just happened this past weekend. It was an amazing experience. From start to finish, our kids just got to play, got to have fun, got to get out of their, for some of them, it was their first time to get away from home, their first time to step outside the nest, and all of them did amazingly well. There were no tears shed from kids who were missing home. In fact, the kids found their place to be home and to be safe in the midst of a new and kind of different environment than some of them have ever experienced before. Kids made new friends, kids talked, kids laughed. We had all these different activities and things that we provided for them to interact with one another, and also in the big scope of things, really interact with God. Our hope, our agenda, our purpose for this retreat partially was to kind of maximize and build momentum by letting the 4th and 5th graders see the kinds of things that the middle schoolers and high schoolers are going to be doing on a more and more regular basis, by getting these unique experiences and opportunities to grow and develop their own faiths. And so we got the chance to bring these 4th and 5th graders, these crazy squirrely kids, and let them hang out with these older kids. And that also allowed for these friendships and relationships to build. And it was really fun, really exciting to see. The other component of the weekend, the big component, obviously because we're a church, is that our kids get the chance to have these meaningful experiences with God, that they really get to sit down and slow and put themselves in a position to hopefully hear God's voice, hear God speak to them through the Bible, through prayer, through journaling, through a lot of different activities and exercises. And it was a very ambitious goal that I had for the kids, because I wanted to introduce them to what are known as spiritual disciplines. And spiritual disciplines is just a big fancy way of saying these are habits or activities or things that we can build into our lives that better allow us to experience, one, the kind of life that God intends for us to live, a transformed life that actually experiences this easy yoke that Jesus talks about. He says in John 10 that I've come that they might have life and have it to the full, and spiritual disciplines are one means of experiencing that full life by learning new habits and new rhythms and practices that allow us to engage parts of our minds and our bodies and our hearts that otherwise oftentimes get neglected. When you think about people's and their comfort level with prayer, it's oftentimes because they haven't practiced prayer. No one has taught them how to pray. Some of you might feel that way. And so this was an attempt to, from a young age, introduce these kids to these practices and hopefully through that just open their eyes to how present God is, to how real God is. And I gotta say, it was an ambitious goal, but what we saw happen, what we saw take place as these kids got to practice things like what's called centering prayer, for instance, which we walked through it with them, and it was how we started each of our teaching sessions or our sessions together. And like I coach them through like sitting on the edge of their seats with their backs straight and their hands on their legs, and then guiding them through breathing in and out, and then praying, and walking them through what does this prayer look like? What does centering prayer? What is that all about? And it's about aligning our hearts with God and being present to this moment, because so often, especially for kids, their minds are in 1,000 different places and 1,000 different just arenas all at once. And with all of us, adults and children alike, oftentimes when we pause to put ourselves in slow positions or still positions, we find that our minds are just bombarded with every thought possible. What we didn't do today that we should have done, what we should do tomorrow, what we could be doing in this very moment as we're trying to still ourselves. And so we started with activities like that, and the kids just responded in a way that I hoped and prayed and had this instinct that they would. But I was nervous, honestly, going into it, that it might be over their heads or some kids might miss it. But we walked slowly and guided them and kind of held their hands as we walked into these new skills, is what the word I would use for it, is skills of prayer. Skills that I believe we're going to build on, and hopefully will help them have the kind of confidence in who God is and God's presence and role in their lives that will develop this foundation for faith for life. And this is also something I'm excited in the future to share with you as parents, to share these kinds of rhythms and routines and how you can practice these as families and how that can improve your relationships with your spouse, with your kids, with others, with God. And so we had this retreat, and the kids just responded in an amazing way. And at the end of it, I took surveys from the kids, really entertaining surveys too. But I took these surveys, and the kids got to share their honest feedback, and we scored, I think, like a 3.8 out of 4, average score from all the kids, and got, 3.5 in terms of the overall retreat, and 3.8 or 9 in regards to if they wanted to do something like this again. And so super encouraging feedback and lots of other data that I collected in that. But overall, phenomenal weekend. The kids got to experience God in new ways. They got a ton of fun and new activities, hopefully build new friendships, and overall just amazing experience together. So thank you for sending your kids if they got to, and if your kids didn't get to go, either because they were busy or maybe they're too young, this is something that they get to look forward to in the future, and I'm really excited to share that with you all going forward in the ministry. Now, deep breath, and we'll talk about Sunday school. This week, the children during the 9 a.m. service are going to have a fun lesson with activities like they have been getting. I've received feedback from a lot of parents unanimously saying that the 10:30 service is preferable. We're exploring what that would look like long term, if we were to move all of our Sunday school programming to just the 10:30 service, children, youth, and what that could look like, what that would look like. And I'm still seeking feedback. There's still some of you who haven't shared with me your thoughts and feelings about what works well for your families, and I want to know that. It's important to us at the church, and important to Melissa and I as the directors of this ministry, that we understand your needs of each of your families, and that we do our best to meet those needs, and also help show you some other needs, those spiritual needs that we are trained for and excited to share. And so 9 a.m. Sunday school is going to be children dismissed from the sanctuary after the opening prayer. The youth will meet in the Talbert building, and they will get to hear from Nancy Bros, our middle school teacher. about her most recent trip to Europe and how she saw God at work in the places that she got to visit. And then they'll get to talk about Psalm 23 and go through some journaling and reflection and discussion around Psalm 23. So it should be a great time for them. Donuts will be provided, of course. The 10:30 children's service. During the 10:30 service, we have something different going on. As some of you probably have heard, we have a luncheon featuring Children of the Nations, this amazing organization that does all kinds of work all over the world to help young men and women kind of get out of poverty situations, or just give them a helping hand in order to have access to new opportunities for them and for their families. And so there's going to be a young man and woman from Malawi through this organization who are going to come and be featured in our children's moment, and then we'll lead them out of the sanctuary and up to the Talbert building, and children and youth are welcome to hear the testimonies of this young man and woman, hear how God has shaped their lives and the amazing things that they have experienced growing up in Malawi. And it should just be a really cool, eye-opening experience for some kids to see and hear from someone who maybe doesn't think, doesn't look, doesn't speak, is just very unfamiliar to them, and that can sometimes be context for amazing growth to happen in kids as these new experiences kind of broaden their horizons in their minds. And so I'm really excited about this coming Sunday, and I hope that you'll let your kids participate in the 10:30 service, encourage them to participate, and then you as a family will stick around and be a part of the Children of the Nations lunch taking place after the service. So all really exciting stuff happening this Sunday, and I hope you are a part of it. Another deep breath, pause. I shared some articles. Each week, if you've ever made it down that far in the newsletter, each week I share some articles, and they are meant to be for you as parents, to basically help equip you, give you resources, things to think about, advice, insight from other sources around the web. This week's are a couple of very, very special ones, and so I really hope you'll take the time, and if I remember to, I'll share the link in the description below the video here, and you can check them out that way too in case you did not receive the newsletter in your email. Now, I want to draw your attention to a few upcoming events, because there's lots of things that we have on the calendar, and even more things that we're still dreaming and planning and working to bring to the front. And a lot of things also, before I get into this, that we'll need extra hands for. We'll need chaperones, we'll need drivers, and so please let us know if you are available and would like to make yourself available for special events, and those kind of one-time things where it's just like, sure, I can share or I can be present on this Friday night for like 5 hours to help chaperone an event. And that kind of availability, that kind of intentionality on your part will make all the difference in what we can do as a ministry and as a church, because we got to keep our kids safe. We have to have a certain number of chaperones. We have to have a certain number of drivers, and not only do we want to just meet the bare minimum of safety and all that kind of stuff, but there's very real data and research that has shown that the more involvement from good role models, good other adults outside of just the home to have in a child's life, the more likely they are to stick with their faith into adulthood. That the research shows that at a minimum, children should have 5 adults who are invested in their lives and encouraging them, hopefully in their faith formation, but also in their character formation and spiritual formation. All kinds of formation taking place. And so we need and we want more adults. And so if you would let us know, if you would reach out to us and say, hey, I can't teach every Sunday, but I'm available and I'm ready and I'm willing to be part of these kids' lives in big or small ways. It's just kind of that stepping up, like Isaiah did in Isaiah chapter 6, to say, here I am, Lord, use me. And if you would consider that, We would be so grateful. So going back, events, lots of exciting stuff. Building Better Moms. This is Melissa's thing, start to finish, and I think it's amazing. This moms group is meant to be a support group and a place of encouragement and growth for moms of kids who are in elementary, middle, or high school. I'm not actually positive about children in college or beyond. You'd have to ask Melissa about that. But this is a great group, meets the first and third Thursday of every month. And so please pay attention to that and look for communications from Melissa for this going forward. Confirmation is something that we do in the Methodist Church. It's a time and an opportunity for kids to explore their faith, to get to really dig in and hear a lot of in-depth information from a lot of different perspectives. And right now, the confirmation that we do is every Sunday from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. And we have a team of teachers, myself, Rusty McKee, Pastor Elizabeth, and Dan McLaughlin are all participating to teach our kids in this confirmation class. And all of us bring our own unique styles and flavors, and so we're hoping that in conjunction with some kind of outside the classroom events during the next couple months will really help make this confirmation an amazing experience for our kids. And so this confirmation typically takes place in 8th grade. And so if you have 7th graders or 6th graders or even younger kids, this is something that you can begin talking about with them and getting them excited to participate in and think about, because it's part of their journey. It's a huge piece of a child's journey of faith. Those kinds of moments where you make a decision that is going to potentially shape the trajectory of your life. Confirmation is one of those amazing opportunities for our kids, and we're really excited that we have so many participating this year. So thank you if you took extra time to encourage your children to be a part of that. We're very grateful for that, and really excited. I think I said that before. I already talked about the Children of the Nations event happening this weekend related to Sunday school. So just again, reiterating, there's a luncheon after the service. We really hope you'll stick around and be a part of it. It should be a lot of fun and a really cool opportunity for children and you as parents and adults alike. The last announcement and the final piece of this week's newsletter is a worship workshop taking place on November 14th at 6 p.m. This workshop and worship workshops in general are this idea I had to really help families, help kids, help you as parents understand all the different ways in which we worship God with our lives. And so this worship workshop is about how to use our Bible, how to really open it up and to feel confident, and not only confident, but even excited to say, all right, I know what to do with this. Like, I know how to ask the right questions as I'm reading through a passage, even if I don't know the history or have, commentaries available to me. I know how to read my Bible and hear what God has to say to me through that. And so we're going to cater this to younger kids, but all ages are welcome and invited, and it will be meaningful for all ages. And so please put that on your calendars. November 14th, 6 p.m. We'll have dinner, and it should be a great night together. That's it. I hope you've enjoyed this video newsletter. I welcome any feedback, thoughts. I have lots of ideas on how I'm going to personally improve the channel because I watch a lot of YouTube, and so I have a lot of inspiration for that. But if you have other ideas on other means of communication that would be especially meaningful or helpful, please don't hesitate to let me know. All right, thanks, and have a great night.